Hi, I'm Tony, and today we're going to take a look at applique paper. It's something that, we use for applique, for attaching things, for all sorts of stuff, but sometimes we're like, well, why is this not working the way I want, or how do I do this? So I'm going to simplify it for you. I'm going to show you basic use of applique paper, and then what happens if your image is flipped, if it's mirrored. So I'm going to take a look at both of those for you and how we're going to use some applique paper and also how to use a light box. So let's get started. How you use applique paper. So applique paper is basically just a fusible web that has paper on it. The paper is on one of the sides, not both of the sides, just one of the sides. And it would help if I could actually get a piece out of here. I'm going to take this one. There we go. So here's some applique paper. I'm actually going to be using the Steam. There is a lot of different kinds of applique paper that you can use. But basically, if it calls for applique paper, it's this. Now, when you take the paper out and you feel it, there's going to be a smooth side. That's the side that has the paper on it. And there's going to be a rough side. And you know what? I lied. The Steam has no rough side because there's paper on both sides. So we're going to take one of those pieces of paper off. There we are. Now I can feel the rough side. So we have a smooth side and we have a rough side. If you can't feel that rough side or the sticky side, that just means that you have paper on both sides. Take a piece of paper off. Okay? I know that there's a bunch of other brands out there that just has the single one and so on and so on. All right, so what we're going to do is you want to take your design and you want to draw it onto your paper design. So let's say if I want to draw a heart. All I'm going to do is draw a heart onto here. And I've got it onto my paper. Then I'm going to take my paper scissors and, there we are. And I'm going to cut it out. Okay, so we've got our hearts here. And I'm going to cut this out. There we are. Now, you don't have to cut this out right away. You can actually just cut around, and I will show you that next. But what you're going to do is then take this and put this on the wrong side of your fabric. So let's say if we want to take this fabric and attach it to this piece of fabric here. You want to take your applique paper, stick it on the wrong side just like that, and iron it. Now, depending upon the applique paper you use, you may or may not want to use Steam. The Steam actually says use Steam, and they want you to use Steam. Okay, so we've got that heart on there, and it's there just fine. Now, we're going to take and we're going to cut this heart out onto here, just like this. Let's cut this heart out. There we are. We've got our heart. Perfect. Now, we want to take our heart and we want to put it onto here wherever we want it. Now, what we want to do is we want to remove the paper. So what you'll notice is when you take this paper and you remove it, you should feel glue now onto your fabric. If your paper does not come off, there's a trick you can use, and I'll show you that on the next step. Now, there is no such thing if your applique paper calls for steam. If there's too much steam, you can't do that. It's fine. You can do that. If it calls for steam, give it as much steam as you want. So we're going to pull this paper off, and we're going to take this heart, and we're going to put that onto our other piece of fabric, and we're going to iron that on. Now, if your applique paper asked for steam, use the same thing. Use steam whenever you're putting this on here, and there we are. It's on there. Now, this is not a permanent fix. You still have to sew this on here. At this point, this is what's called a raw edge applique. So you can do a stitch all the way around. You can do a blanket stitch, which goes in and out. You can do a zigzag stitch. However you want to do it, go ahead and sew this on at this point. Now, what if you have something that it has a direction? So let's say if you have a word or letters or something like that. Let's say if the letter S. Okay, so we've got the letter S, right? If we were to take this and put it on our fabric just like that and iron it and cut it out and then sew it on, well, what's going to happen is that S, silly glitter fabric, the S is going to be reversed. So the S is going to be backwards. So if you want to make something that's like this, my suggestion is to either flip the piece of paper so that you trace it going backwards, or what I do if I freehand something, I just do this. I just draw it on the actual glue side, then I flip it over and I redraw it using a light board or something else. In fact, I can't see, so I'm going to have to use my light board. So I'm going to speed up, you're going to see me speed up the video, I'm going to trace this, and then we'll come back and I'll cut it out and show it to you. So I've got that. Now, if you don't have a light board, you can also take this and put this up in the window. If you actually hold it up to a window, the light will come in and you can see it and you can trace on the opposite side. That's whether you draw it here or you have it on a piece of paper that you want to see it through. All right, so in this case, remember I said I was going to show you how to do the other way. All you really have to do is cut around it, okay? Then we want to put this onto our fabric that we're going to be putting on our other fabric. So this is the wrong side of the fabric that I want to be my applique, okay? So let's iron this with some steam, all the steam. There we are. And now let's cut this out. So because I have it like this, I can just cut this directly out. Now remember, I reversed this S. And because I reversed this S and I ironed it to the wrong side of my fabric, it should come out perfect. There we are. And there. All right. Now, I said I was going to show you the trick if you couldn't get the piece of paper off. So if I can't get this paper off, you can score the back. You can either use a pin. If you have a pin, you can score the back. Or I like to use some scissors. You can take the scissors and just score it just like that. Don't cut through it, just score it. Because then when you score it like this, you see what happens? And that only goes through that paper. And you can easily then pull this off. And the glue is on the S. So now I can take my piece of fabric and take my applique, put it where I want it on the paper. Now that glue will allow it to stay temporarily until you want it to move around, and then until you iron it. Once you iron it, it's not permanent, just temporarily there until you can sew it on. Now remember, this is for the raw edged fusible applique. It is not for hand-turned applique, which is something completely different. This is the easy way of just doing regular applique. You can now attach this on here using hand stitches or machine stitches. Either one is perfectly okay, but you want to secure this on here somehow, like I said, by machine stitches, or you can hand embroider it, hand applique it. And there you go. And that is how you use applique paper. Hopefully you learned how to use applique paper. Don't forget to like this video, follow my YouTube as well as Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, TikTok, Facebook, my Quite Nerdy Quilters Facebook group, and Twitch, where I stream live, and I also stream live here on YouTube. Check out my social media on Mondays for my schedule for the week so you can catch me live.